Hey all, welcome back to the channel, and it's Monday, and you know what that means here on the channel? It is Countdown Day, and today's topic, as voted on all across social media, was provided to us by Bedford Crenshaw, and it is the top 10 characters who could use a different sort of alt mode. That's going to be our focus this time around in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. That's right, hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or admin for, as well as all of my social media links, all of that, man, down in the description below. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring, or, of course, hit the join button right here on YouTube to become a channel member. And this is, as voted on by fans all across social media, the top 10 Transformers that could use a different sort of alt mode. A lot of alt modes are very iconic. The Seekers as jets, or Sideswipe as a Lamborghini, or Optimus Prime as a transport truck. But there have been times that there have been departures, and there have been times when certain characters have not had departures, but maybe they should. And there were votes that came in fast and furious all along. So we're going to kick things off with our honorable mentions first. And coming in first is Rodimus Prime. Everybody kind of said the same thing. Just make him a truck. Even if it got to be a bit of a weird space truck, but the whole kind of camper look for him just isn't working when you're supposed to be the leader of an army, basically. So a lot of people voted for him. Tailgate. A lot of people said tailgate should be a truck. Why is he a car? A car doesn't have a tailgate. You know what got a tailgate? A truck. Plus RC. A lot of people said that they prefer the motorcycle look for her. Some people said she should be a truck. Why not? Why not try RC as a truck? I can get behind that. Tripticon was another one. Some people said he should really, in the future, follow in the footsteps of the Fall of Cybertron video game where he is the Nemesis ship. Some said he should have a robot mode added. So his T-Rex mode isn't his robot mode. It's just another alt mode, and he should actually have an actual robot mode. I can understand where that criticism might come into play as well. And Optimus Prime. Some people said, why not try something like an armored vehicle, you know, rather than just being a boring old truck? Why not make it a bit more of a souped up truck? And honestly, third party has sort of touched on that, like that Rolling Thunder Optimus, for example. I can't remember his name. General Grant, is that it? So, yeah, I kind of get behind the honorable mentions, but none of them made the actual list. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to kick things off with number 10 first. And coming in at number 10 is the unlikely candidate of Ratchet. Now, yes, this is actually Shattered Glass Ratchet. And I just wanted to use him because why not? How often am I going to get to probably use Shattered Glass Ratchet in any of these countdowns? You know, I'm just saying. Though he will definitely have a role in Universal Collision. That's another story for another day. Here's what some people said. Yes, he should still be an ambulance, but maybe the type of ambulance he is should be different. Maybe he should be more like a truck-style ambulance than a van-style ambulance. Maybe he should be more of a military-style ambulance and something like a Hummer. I feel like we have sort of teetered on all of this before, so I said that to some of the voters and said, well, haven't we kind of had that before? And they said, we have, but maybe that sort of alt mode should be the way we go going forward, because if you look at the Earthrise attempt at getting a van, it's a little dicey and a little iffy. Kind of can't argue with it. Maybe tweaking his alt mode is the right way to go, and enough people thought the same way that he was able to take the number 10 slot. Coming in at number 9 is the character that most people said is the most nonsensical in all of Transformers because his alt modes are impossible. I'm talking about Broadside. A lot of people said, look, either you need to keep the aircraft carrier, make him a lot bigger, and ditch the plane and come up with something else, or the easiest thing to do is to keep him a bit smaller, keep his plane mode, and maybe change his aircraft carrier mode to something like a submarine. It still works, and he is still aquatic. But you don't need to worry about the incongruity between a plane and the thing that a plane lands on. I get it. I hear you. Maybe a sub is the best way to go with Broadside. Enough people thought along the same lines that he was able to tie himself up at the number 9 slot. Coming in at number 8 is the robot in disguise that most people say is the least robot in disguise, or one of the least robots in disguise. Talking about Cosmos. And when I asked, well, what sort of alt mode Cosmos had, the only answer I got was literally anything else. He is the most attention-grabbing alt mode you could get. He is the one that, people will see, that people will talk about, that, they'll try and get pictures of. This is the most conspicuous alt mode he could have, being a UFO of all things. Maybe. Or maybe it means he can just hang out so far up in space that nobody even has to see him. And you can't get much more hidden away than that. Nevertheless, a lot of people said a UFO is the worst hiding mode that you could come up with. And for that reason, old Cosmos takes the number 8 slot. And coming in at number 7, we have a big boy. Oh, an Omega Supreme. Look, a lot of people love Omega Supreme. But when this question came up, the first thing a lot of people did is they said Omega Supreme. He should be a space shuttle. Not necessarily the Ark, but the whole dude should be a shuttle. Much like the way he's the Ark in animated. It gets rid of the parts forming and it makes him one huge cohesive alt mode. I get it. I understand it. I love my G1-ness, but I totally understand where you're coming from. It would make much more sense, especially when his arms fly around the universe and somehow he's able to transform and the rest of his body just magically appears. At least if he was one huge ship, it would make sense that all of his body parts would be there. Now, people thought along those lines that big bad Omega Supreme was able to take the number 7 slot. And coming in at number 6 is one of the characters, or one of the sets of characters that makes the most sense. I'm talking about Reflector. Yeah, okay. So this is actually a resin cast of the little camera that came with the Centurion pack that's supposed to be Reflector in his camera mode. A lot of people said the same thing. Reflector as a trio is a neat idea. But the three of them turning into a camera never made a whole lot of sense because they had the mass shift so far down to become a component of a camera. Beyond that, this day and age doesn't really make much sense since most cameras seem to be in phones. So a lot of people said maybe they should turn into things like phones. Some people said maybe the Reflector trio should turn into one large ship, a la big powered. I was going to say Di-Atlas, but big powered. You know what? I kind of get that. I don't know if it would make sense for them to turn into cell phones, but the three of them turning into a big ship, much like big powered, I could get behind that, and we still have our three lads. No, people felt like that a camera was antiquated and that he needed something else that he was easily able to take, the number 6 slot. And here we are, once again at the most coveted of locations in these lists. You know what I'm going to say, we are at the halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, we have a character that I'm sort of surprised made it on here. It is Perceptor. A lot of people said, look, the mass shifting for Perceptor never ever made any sense. And then a couple of people said his alt mode, doesn't make sense anymore because it's too old. It's too old? I don't get that. It's a microscope. They still use microscopes in science today. Probably more microscopes and more science now than it's been in a lot of the last recent years, to be perfectly honest with you. I think his alt mode is fine. However, if your problem is based on the fact of the mass shifting, then a lot of people said, look, he should be some sort of a satellite truck, or he should be some sort of a expedition rover. Some people said he should turn into the Hubble Space Telescope. So, there's a lot of different modes. The idea behind Perceptor needing a new alt mode seems to be firmly entrenched in the idea that the mass shifting to become a microscope doesn't make sense. I never really thought that deep about it, and honestly, I always just saw him as a giant microscope that was able to roll along. I never really felt like he had a lot of mass shifting, at least not all the time. Perceptor is one of those weird characters with a weird alt mode. And maybe the fact that he's a weird character with a weird alt mode is reason enough for a change. They tried it in Reveal the Shield when he was a half-track. Maybe they should take more branch-outs like that, because that mode certainly did have its merits and kind of work for this guy. The traditionalist, like me, will want a microscope, but the modern-day revisionist most certainly could use a new alt mode, and for that reason he takes the number 5 slot. Now, number 4 is an interesting case where some of the voters said, well, this character shouldn't have any alt mode. I'm talking about Alpha Trion. He came in at number 4, and a lot of people said, look, he shouldn't be a lion. That makes no sense. Why is he a lion? I get it. I hear you. I tend to agree. I think it's because this mold was really originally intended to be used for Lyro Convoy. So I get it. Maybe he shouldn't be a lion. Some people said the ship is fine. He should have just been a ship. He didn't need a third mode. He didn't need to be no triple changer. Just a ship. It's cool. Some people said he should be a truck, and I like this one. A couple of people said, you know what he should be? He's old. He's classic. Make him a streetcar. A streetcar. You know, we've seen streetcars around before. They got the whole thing up over that touches the wires, and they got the tracks on the road. I think that would be a really cool mode for Alpha Trion. Any way you cut it, most people said a lion isn't the answer for this guy. Either nothing, something classic like a streetcar, or something totally out of this world like a ship. A lot of different ideas, none of them align, and honestly, I tend to agree. And enough people felt the same way that Alpha Trion was easily able to take the number 4 slot. And coming in at number 3 is everybody's favorite top 40 cassette player, Blaster. The irony here is that the blaster that I'm actually using is the Fall of Cybertron that doesn't really turn into that traditional mode. As a matter of fact, a lot of people said he should turn into more of a vehicular mode, a la Fall of Cybertron. Some people said he should turn into a truck covered in subwoofers. I totally love that idea. Or, my favorite, they said, look, Blaster's all about loud music and having a good time. He should turn into a party bus. Simple as that. He should turn into a party bus. And you know what? What a brilliant idea. Loud music, tons of fun. That's Blaster all to pieces. And it's something that is more contemporary and something where we don't have to worry about the mass shifting. Going from a cassette player to a party bus, I'm totally on board, baby, with Blaster coming in at number 3. At number 2, we have the leader of the Decepticons himself, Megatron. Look, us G1 fans, us old-timey fans, always want him to turn into his original pistol mode. There's no doubt about it because it's just the way we are. Now, me, myself, I'm okay with him being revisioned. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of small alt mode versions of Megatron, and I'm cool with using those because, again, the whole mass shifting element. He has turned into a tank, he has turned into a plane, he has turned into, most interestingly, a helicopter. And when most people voted, most people said, look, a tank makes the most logical sense. But the most interesting is if he was to go back to turning into a helicopter. I tend to agree. One of the most dynamic, one of the most fearsome, and one of the most interesting forms of Megatron was definitely from animated. And it is an alt mode that he never had before. And he's never had since, but maybe he should have again. Enough people felt that exact same way that Megatron was able to take the number 2 slot. And coming in at number 1, Soundwave Superior. And I get it. This is much the same sort of argument as with Blaster, that him turning into a handheld radio kind of makes no sense. Some people have said it's a mini cassette player. When was the last time mini cassettes were a thing? We've seen him attempt it as a spaceship, and some people really didn't like it. Said, don't look like a ship. You had to use your imagination a bit. We've seen him be a Cybertronian vehicle as well. A lot of people said that the alt modes they would like to see is a comms truck, which he's been, I think, in animated. Maybe it was animated. The evergreen design tends to be a comms truck. So, like, that makes sense. I'm cool with that. A lot of people voted saying that they would like him to go back to the drone that he was from Transformers Prime. Some have said he should be a stealth bomber because it totally matches his character, and he's never been one to my knowledge. A lot of different alt modes could apply to Soundwave, but they all hold one thing in common, that they should be used for communications, spying, and espionage. Any way you cut it, Soundwave, to kind of stay on the pulse of being a good spy, needs to move beyond the old technology that his body is and become something new, something better. Enough people felt that way that this guy far and away took the number 1 slot. And there you have it once again. We've gone from 10 all the way down to number 1. And this was a fun one. It was a very interesting way to see the way the votes went. We had, of course, a lot of other votes for characters that did not appear on the list. For example, characters like Vanquish and Power Punch and Excavator and Hammer, all of these, if you don't know, are the back end of Micromaster, like combining duos. So like Hammer, for example, Sledge is the front half of a dump truck. Hammer's just like the bed of the dump truck. So like, yeah, I get it. I totally get that. Who else do we have here that didn't make it? Ratbat. Some people said, look, he was so fearsome. I mean, he led his own group. At one point, he led the Decepticons. He was Senator Ratbat, and he turns into a bat and a cassette. He should have had something else. Ravage, have a different alt mode was one. Ironhide didn't get the votes that Ratchet did, weirdly enough, but some people did mention the same sort of arguments with him as they did with Ratchet. Jazz, Rung should be at least a something, an actual thing. Alita 1 as a truck. Hot Rod, because his alt mode is just too weird of a made up space car. What else do we have here? Wheeljack, we certainly should have more of a Cybertronian mode for him. Skylynx and Blastoff and Astrotrain, which I found really interesting. The idea being they should be different types of shuttles, a la the fall of Cybertron Blastoff, for example. So, I don't know. Maybe there's an argument for that. Sea Spray, some people said that he could be a amphibious tank. I think that'd be really interesting to see. I don't know if it would match Sea Spray's personality, but very interesting to see. Cup should just be a normal pickup. Scourge as a stealth bomber, which we've seen before as well. And who else will I throw in here? Nightbird. Nightbird as a motorcycle. A Kawasaki Ninja, no less, is what was said. I support that 100%. That's it. That's all of them. I appreciate you guys coming by, give me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. Let me know where your favorites fell on the list. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course, hit the join button right here on YouTube. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button. Stick around, have some fun with us. Don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single solitary day, man, you do make a difference. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.